like to welcome everybody formally. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Katie Corcus. I'm one of the co-managers of Step Up Gallery. Our business is to calendarize and exhibit exhibits year-round, so we have as many as 10 shows per year. This exhibit with Alexis Palmaffy has been amazing. She's a wonderful artist, wonderful to work with, and every time I sit in the gallery, I see more and more in all of these beautiful paintings, beautiful colors, beautiful thought. Her intention behind her work is evident and really enjoyable. So that's all I have to really say about Alexis. She has a few words, but I know she'd be also gratified by seeing so many friendly faces.
Thank you so much. Great, thank you so much, Katie. I also want to say thank you so much to Diane, who's also one of the gallery managers at Step Up Gallery here. The first thing I want to do is my favorite thing to do of all is to express gratitude for all of you guys being here, and every different person. So many memories that are beautiful come to mind, and it's just such an amazing experience to be back in Los Alamos, where most of this art was created and where most of this really beautiful experience of being an artist started. I didn't grow up in Los Alamos, but I did move here after living in New Jersey for about 22 years of my life. I was born on August 14th, 1987. I'm a Leo, and everything I do kind of conveys that. I'm a very highly sensitive person, so it's kind of a miracle that I'm an artist, because if I wasn't, I don't even know what would happen. So I just wanted to say that thank you so much for being here. So I'm gonna take a quick breath, and then I'm gonna have a little bio and tell you how I got to this point.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you. Okay. So I feel my journey as an artist kind of started at a very young age. The reason I became an artist is because I had a sibling rivalry with my sister Erica, who is a much better artist than me, might still be. Yeah, but I guess I took the rivalry a little bit too seriously, and here we are. So I really started finding my artistic voice when I was in high school. I would draw a lot, and I basically drew cartoons for the beginning of my life, but I really found my artistic voice when I decided to take film in high school, and I decided to work on drawing hand-drawn animations. So the reason why that's so important is because it takes a lot of drawings just to make 1 second of film. So I think it's about 10 drawings just to get 1 second of footage. So that's when I kind of really learned how to devote my time to art and really got kind of consumed with it. That's where the obsession began. So after that, in high school, I really thought my path was going to be being an animator. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to study animation, but instead I actually went to art school at Mesa School of the Arts at Rutgers. And wow, what an experience that was. I don't know how many of you have been to art school, but it is a trip. So it was a trip. My first memory of being in art school was showing up to oil painting class, where they said, here's a list of supplies you need to get. Go do that. So we did. We show up, and I was used to painting in acrylics, and I was pretty good. I spent a lot of time painting. So I was pretty good, and I sat down, and we're drawing this apple. We're gonna paint this apple, and I go to paint, and I'm like, whoa, this is different. Because oil painting is a lot different than acrylic painting. I wasn't really taught how to paint really in terms of technique, and in terms of having actual instruction with painting. They were kind of just threw us in and said go for it. So that was really challenging, and I think I actually cried that day, at the end of the day, because I was like, this is gonna be so hard, can I do it? But what's amazing about the spirit of an artist is we just don't give up, even if all the odds are against us. It's that obsessive tendency and that calling from a higher power where no matter what happens, we're just gonna keep doing it. So, and that's kind of how I got good at oil painting. But what's more important is my experience with printmaking. So printmaking is where I really shined and my drawing abilities came through. I was lucky enough to take printmaking, and I'd never been exposed to it previously. When I went to art school there at Mason Gross, they had an amazing printmaking facility. So I really learned a lot, and the basis of printmaking is actually a lot of line work for me. So I discovered the magic of copper plate etchings. I actually brought my plates today, which you never get to see, so this is very behind the scenes. But just holding this, I feel a little less nervous, which is good because I think I need some of that. So let me just take this in for a minute. Whew. So yeah, these are my etching plates. And what's great about etching is you basically start out with just a flat sheet of copper, and you have to polish it. So it's actually not very, you can't see yourself in it, but you have to polish it. And the first thing that happens is you see your reflection in it. So I think that's pretty amazing. I mean, it's just a mirror to your soul. That's what this copper plate is. So yeah, in doing that, I really kind of equated animation with printmaking because there's states of a print. When you look at my prints here, they look beautiful, they look finished, they look like a lot of work went into it, because it did, but you don't get to see the states leading up to that. So with a print and with a plate like this, there's different states of the print. You have to kind of draw some stuff, print it, and check it. So it's kind of like an animation cell, the printmaking process. It's kind of like you kind of see with each time you print it, the progression of the plate. So I just want to remind everyone, especially when I hear from people, wow, like your artwork is so dynamic, there's so much going on, I can't even draw a straight line. But I want to remind people that that's what it looks like at the end. It doesn't look like that the whole time. So don't be so hard on yourself. And then in saying that, let's see what else I could put in here. In saying that, I wanted to segue into how important it is to be creative and how important it is to not dismiss your inner voice. It looks different for everyone, but if you can just take time each day just to check in with yourself and how you're feeling and give yourself space to have that expression, I think it could really change your life. And it doesn't have to be something that you do all the time. But I mean, being creative is really powerful. And I think it has the ability to change people's lives. I know it did for me, because when I was in high school, I felt like I didn't have a voice. I know young children and anyone, I mean, it's just tough to really feel like people are listening, but it's more important to feel like you're listening to yourself. That's the number one. Yeah, and for me, it's so easy for me to have a conversation with myself and with the divine. And I do struggle a little bit more in having conversations with people. So
no way.
Yeah. So I'm doing good though. Thanks for hanging in with me here. But I guess what I want to say about that, what's so great about being an artist is it's a little bit isolating when you're just creating art. But I'm so lucky because one of the things that I feel super gifted to have is that the gift that I was given, it's better when it's given to other people. So I kind of feel that way for everyone. Everyone has a gift. They might not know it yet. But I did have something that I did want to mention because while I was writing this, I thought this was really powerful. And it's the idea is that if you're given a gift and you share it with just one person, the amount of joy that's being experienced is doubled. So I was like, whoa, what a profound thought. So I had to share that with you guys. But that's how I feel about when I get to do henna for people and tattoo them and just really share the experience. And it's more about holding the space. Being an artist can be very difficult and isolating. I'm not the only one. I'm sure every artist relates to that. But I think when we're sharing our gift and allowing others to find their voice, I think that's when it really completes the cycle. Okay. And then let's see, lastly, I kind of wanted to talk about just the show and the idea of strange magic, which I think is very fitting for a lot of the works in the show. I'm a really big believer in the power of intention. For me, the hardest part about making magic happen and manifesting is leaving space for the divine to enter. It's kind of getting out of the way and kind of taking the humanity out of it. Just that's when things get a little messy, right? So it's good to have your intention and put some action toward it, but then just kind of leave the space for the divine to enter. That's the hardest part and the best part. And that's where all the magic happens, especially for me. Just the fact that we're here right now is pretty surreal. Thanks for being here. Let's see, what else do I want to talk about? So yeah, I also just wanted to say, I just feel as an artist, it's really easy for me to communicate with things that are kind of beyond, kind of mysterious. My art shows that everything is interconnected, and I think visually seeing that is it's quite liberating. It's very relaxing. It's a great thought to know that you're never alone, and all you have to do is sit down and make the connection, leave the space, and you'll be met with more than you could ever imagine. And that's my experience making art. I love talking about it in such a blissful way, but of course, you know, there's all kinds of things that go with being an artist, and it is difficult, but it's definitely worth doing. And I hope that with my art making process, I hope that it inspires everyone to find their inner voice and to just free themselves of judgment and just kind of do what makes you feel joyous. That's basically the purpose of art or anything creative. It's kind of saying, I'm not judging myself, I'm enjoying myself. And I don't think we do that enough, especially in our crazy society. So even if you can just take a few minutes per day to have that experience, it kind of feeds upon itself. And it's this beautiful bouquet that gets larger and larger. And as you do it, other people do it. And then the conversation just continues to grow. So I think art and being creative is probably the best thing you can do in terms of self-care. And it's my pleasure to do it. And I am just really, really, really grateful and thankful that you guys are all here to witness this show.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think that's all I have to say.
Any questions?
Yeah, at this point, well, there's one more thing I did want to say. Because the nature of this show is about magic and leaving space for the divine to enter, I do have some intention cards up here that I would love for you guys to take and take home. And hopefully that inspires you to create and gives you a little message from the divine, personally just for you, so you can take that and kind of manifest some magic in your own life. Yeah, and then I think I've exhausted myself. But I do have room for any questions that you guys have. If you'd like, just shoot up your hand and I'll answer some questions. So I'm nervous about this one.
It's not that crazy. Since I see most of your art every day, since I'm one of your closer friends and your neighbor, I found some pieces that, of course, as you said, that I've never seen before. So I'm curious about what is the oldest piece that you have on display today, or your oldest original that you have today, or one that's on display in general?
That's a great question, and the answer to that is there's a painting back on the right there. It's an oil painting, and it's called Gut Shot. Yeah, and thank you so much for collecting it. Richard Lemler, thank you. That is a painting that I actually painted. It's the only piece in the show that I painted in New Jersey.
Wow.
So there's just one, and it's kind of darker, but I have a lot of darker art from that time. And when I moved here, because facing life as an artist in the beginning, it's kind of scary. You know, it's an unknown path. Still is all the time. But I mean, that piece kind of shows that. And I would explain it and stuff, but why don't you guys can go check it out.
Yeah.
But that's the oldest piece.
Cool.
And it's probably one of the most emotional pieces. Yeah. So that's the answer to that question.
Sweet. Yeah, check it out.
Thank you for that.
In more detail.
Question. Yeah. Yes.
I'm curious about frames.
Oh.
You have a lot of experience with frames, and
Mhm.
so how do you decide what takes a frame and what doesn't? Is that hard for
Yeah.
you sometimes?
That is the hardest part, and the part that I find to be kind of not the funnest. But so I didn't mention that in my talk about being a framer because that's where like a lot of different kinds of emotions kind of pop up. Because being a framer is hard, and it's really hard to even explain how I do that. But I think in what I've learned now that I'm not a framer anymore and I frame in my own time in my own studio, I try to keep it simple and try to let the piece speak for itself in a way. It really just depends on the piece, but I think keeping it simple for me right now is probably the best option because not everyone is going to like the way it's framed. So if it's simple, it might appeal to everyone, and then they can frame it the way they like. Yeah, based on their home and things, because kind of hard to know what that would look
Well,
like.
what I noticed some that it seemed like you had to pay some special attention. I guess,
Yeah.
like you're saying, they all take that attention, but these ended up with frames, and one in particular that's the two eyes and the gold. I think I'm remembering.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It made a big difference in the overall composition, and
Yeah.
your sense of composition, I think, is very nice.
Framing is really, really important, and sometimes it can make or break the piece. So it's really it's an art form that's very, I think, maybe underrepresented, or maybe not appreciated as much as it deserves, because the frame really can make or break it. That's why I like to keep it simple, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes me wonder, I don't want to take too much time.
That's okay, yeah, go for it. I think.
What's happening now? Are you going
Yeah.
into 3D, sculpture? What are you thinking is next? You've been through all the printmaking processes,
okay.
you've been through framing, you've been through ink and painting, so what's next?
Yeah, what's next? What a good question. Right now I'm really having fun making candles. I'm always making art and stuff, but I have some candles in the back there, but I love candles because it's kind of an offering and a gift to whoever has the candle, and then they can put their intention into the candle. So it is sculptural, it's functional, it's more 3D, it's an actual object. So I do love 2D and painting and drawing and all that, but there's something about candles that's like it's really fun to have an actual like object. You know, you really it kind of takes on a life of its own.
Well, that's it, the life of its own. You
Yeah.
find some things literally kind of come alive at a certain point, and only you can see that when it happens, if you go too far or don't go far enough, or
Oh yeah. So I just try not to think about any of that stuff. I think that's where it starts to get a little bit kind of scary for people. They're like, oh, there's so many things that could go wrong or right. I just do it.
well, that's what I liked about one of
Yeah.
your prints, and
Yeah.
I had the one that we were talking about, the dream. Anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't remember.
That's
the
okay.
title. But I wondered if each print is different because of the process, or are these
Yeah.
digital prints, or?
Yeah,
Some are digital, some aren't, these were.
yeah, so every etching is hand printed, so there
So
are
that-
variations, yeah. Some printmakers really stick to their edition and they want it to be perfect every time. Mine are much different, well, not much, but they're all different. I kind of like to make each one like kind of show that it's different, you know.
Well, you still say it's in a series and so on.
It is, yeah. So it's hand printed, but it's interesting to kind of talk about the distinction between like hand printed prints and like digital prints. And then, so wow, there's a lot to talk about there. But you know, stick with these ones. That's all I can say about it. Cool. How are we doing on time? Oh, we have a question. Hi, Robin. What's your question?
In such a short talk, you managed to hit at least a half a dozen touch points. I'm seeing heads nod. I'm seeing people like, oh. So I hope this isn't too technical. Can we cry now?
My biggest fear was I was going to cry.
Yeah.
But it's because I did that already beforehand. So
Yeah.
thank you for
You
that.
held it in.
Pre-cry.
Yeah.
We're just gonna let it pass.
I do have one more.
Okay. Sure.
I'm wondering about how you decide on the names for titles for each painting, or if they kind of just come to you, or if it changes a lot, if you decide on a name and then it changes, or if it's just comes to you and that's it, or how it even is born.
Yeah, that's a great question. I definitely have titles after I finish a piece. I'm sure, I don't know how different artists feel about that, but for me, the title is like the last thing. And it's the kind of like the most important thing. It's like, you know, it's like naming the baby, right? So yeah, there's a lot of, but to be honest, a lot of my titles, a lot of them are music lyrics. A lot of them are like, this song really is expressing how I feel and it relates to the piece. So I'm like, oh, and then it's like a nod to like the song, because like I love music.
That's cool.
Yeah, music is like so important to my art making process. So yeah, there's a lot of pieces in the show that have like musical titles. So
Sweet.
then I don't, you know, I'm like, oh, I use that. But but it's a nod to this song a lot. But yeah, I think sometimes I actually have to enlist some help in a title. I'm like, I don't know, it can change the piece, but
Yeah.
I think that's the last thing that happens usually.
I just wanted to know how you create your ideas. I mean, when does the snail come to you, and when does the frog, and do they just pop up, and do you talk to them?
I definitely do have a conversation there, but
She talks all day, all day. No one around, still talking.
yeah, that's I think he answered the question, but
Thank you.
I don't know. I just draw all the time, and I really just feel so fearless when I'm drawing. I'm so blissful in the moment. I think it's really important to be present in the moment, and I don't know if I do that in my